Calling our meeting to order, Select Board, Monday, January 14th, 2019. We're currently in executive session. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
Make a motion to adjourn executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're now back into regular session. No action was taken. I do expect there'll be an action at 8:40 agenda item. Adjustments to the agenda.
I do have an addition that I'd like to be considered. It's the estimate from Stageworks for providing sound at town meeting and the informational session before town meeting.
So we're a couple minutes ahead of schedule. Why don't we just do that right now?
Okay,
then?
great. So I had provided the estimate previously, but with the informational session that's needed on Monday night, I wanted to ask Ben about the charge for Monday night. So he's indicated in an email that's on the table that it would be $45 an hour with a 3-hour minimum for Monday night, in addition to town meeting.
So what did we approve last time, 1,066?
So the 1,066, that's not including
The what, 3-hour minimum?
the 3-hour minimum or actually the labor for town meeting. It indicates on page 1, technician labor during the meeting will be invoiced at $45 an hour. So depending upon how long town meeting goes, it'll be $45 an hour.
And do we think Monday night's a minimum of 3 hours as well?
It would probably be more like an hour, but yeah, 3-hour minimum. Yep.
To pay that, so
Right.
that's,
So that's 135 plus the 1066 plus labor at town meeting.
plus you said 135.
So that's 1201, not including labor at town meeting. Probably, I mean, maybe it would be approximately 3-4 hours for town meeting.
Yeah, say
So-
4 hours, so it'll be
Another 130, or,
90, 180, another 180,
right, plus 1201,
so 13801.
right.
So do you want to just kind of round it to 1,400 or not to exceed $1,400 or $1,500?
Yep.
So why don't we say that, $1,500 not to exceed? So is there a motion to reapprove Stageworks to include the Monday night and the hourly rate of 45? Expecting it wouldn't exceed at $1,500 in total. Somebody making that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Stageworks for night before town meeting and town meeting for a total not to exceed $1,400,
14 or 15?
14 or 15.
I'd say 15, I think.
1,500.
Just in case. Yeah.
I have to ask, is Stageworks a preferred contractor?
They actually
I
are.
believe, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So this original copy here, do we
Yeah, I
sign
can
it?
sign that.
Does the chair sign it, or
Sure.
have you authorized this chair to sign
I
that?
have authorized.
Okay. So we can do that. Are there public comments at this time? Okay. There is, yes. Sure. Why don't you state your name for us? Yeah, that microphone works this way. You can just sit down.
Bill Stuno, Murphy Road. Elaine, I just wanted to take a
Bill,
note.
what was the last name?
Stuno.
Okay.
I wanted to just take a moment to thank you for your years of service on the board. I read in the paper that you're stepping down, and I wanted to publicly acknowledge your service. A lot of good things have happened during your tenure here. I know it's probably a difficult decision to make, but you've been, I've only come to a few meetings, but you're very attentive, you're knowledgeable, you run a good meeting, and I'm personally going to miss you on this board. And I just wanted to let you know that it's been appreciated.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thanks. Any other public comment? We're about 2 or 3 minutes ahead. Is Duncan Murdoch here?
Yeah.
Aha, come on up, and I think you were here last year at this time.
Yeah. And then there.
Why don't you kind of explain what it is that you'd like us to do or vote on?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. So it's been a year since I've been here last. How are you? Good. And since that time, I've been conducting forest bathing walks at the Charlotte Wildlife Refuge. I've had about 4 in the year with various levels of attendance. It's a bit of a startup business for me, connecting people to nature. And one of the primary things I offer as a means of nature connection are these forest bathing walks. So with your permission, I would like to continue the venture at Charlotte Wildlife Refuge. And so I will be conducting about the same amount of walks. And this year coordinating with a national initiative called National Park RX, which is raising the awareness about the integrating nature connection into the integrative healthcare, where doctors prescribe to their patients park passes for their health and well-being, for green exercise, and also for rest and relaxation. So I'm hoping to coordinate, and I'm in talks with them now, and I have a date there scheduled, and that is a nationally recognized day. So that would be my second year doing this, and so I ask for your consideration.
Okay, let me ask you,
How many times did you do it last year?
I have it written down, but I think it's about 4 times.
You have 5 times this year.
Let's see. Yeah, so this year it would be, I had more scheduled, but I had to cancel one due to weather, so I had at least 4 scheduled last year, but 3 ended up happening. And this year it'd be roughly the same.
Okay.
so I'm looking at our notes here about the fee. So, we were discussing last year, I can't remember how it went, Dean, $1 donation from each of the participants, or requesting a $5 deduction for town residents. So it looks like we went for the $5 deduction for town residents. Did that work for you?
Yeah, it worked for me.
And so that's what you're suggesting this year?
Yeah, I think that would be good to continue. I think the people who have attended from Charlotte have appreciated that discount. I imagine. I haven't gotten any direct feedback, but.
Jenny, you had a question?
Just want to mention that there's no impact at all on this activity. It's great. It fits in with what's going on at the park, and also Duncan's been volunteering at the park. So it's been fine. Worked well.
That is part of my mission, is to get, the more people develop a deeper relationship to the land, the more they are likely to steward the land. And so I take part in the volunteer events that happen there, taking care of the trails, and I encourage my participants to do the same.
Thank you. Is there?
On the participated attendance, this says 5 to 15. I'm going to assume that that's per event, and
Yeah.
the 30 to 80 is yearly?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I haven't operated at capacity last year, so so I would say the average is 5 to 8 participants.
Is there a motion to approve Duncan's request?
Motion to approve the application for the use of the town facilities by the Nature Connection Guide LLC for forest bathing, as outlined in the application.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
I guess, just to confirm the $5
reduction
for town residents.
$5 discount to Charlotte residents.
Yeah, when I advertise, I say I offer a coupon code for when they register.
Frank just noticed that your insurance expires April 1st, 2019. So part of the agreement is that you update your insurance, certificate of insurance.
April 2019.
It's in our packet.
Do you do it quarterly or something? Maybe it's the 3-month
I think it.
renewal?
I think it ends, it says it renews on April 1st, so,
Or
for the
expires.
year, so
Uh-huh.
as long as you can provide the proof to the town,
Okay,
that's it.
okay, I thought
You want to see it?
yeah.
It just says it expires April 1st, 2019. On the top there, right-hand side.
February and April in the same years, a little funny there.
That might, yeah, that is,
Might be a typo.
Typo.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, I'll look into that.
okay.
Just look into it and verify it, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming in. Library edition. We're a couple minutes early, are you in full force? Oh, yeah. Okay, come forward.
Someone's got to sit in the front row. Who's ever going to talk?
We're going to sneak out there and take all the chairs away. And
Speakers
then
ought to-
come to the front row.
Beth, speakers ought to be in the front row, that way it's received on VCAM. Well, I'm going to set the stage. I will, once we settle down. So let me just set the stage a little bit. So I believe you guys were in here about a month ago, and we had some questions. We asked about how you're doing in your private fundraising. So tonight, we're in a position where we're going to finalize our budget and finalize the articles in the budget. So one of the articles under consideration that we would vote on would be to vote on the library addition article. So your invitation, and you're all here kind of to review where we stand and kind of hopefully help us make a decision about moving forward for the article. Then that article would be voted on at town meeting. Jonathan.
Okay, just to let people know, I'm Jonathan Silverman. I'm currently the chair of the Library Board of Trustees. And we hope that we're going to give you enough information so that you can make a decision in the affirmative. I'm going to read a statement that'll give you some background, some more information, and then we'll answer any questions that you have.
Jonathan, I'm just wondering if it might be good if who's ever talking, use that mic, you can pull it off the stand. And
Pull it off the stand.
it's not for amplification, it's for meetings.
Pull it
So
off
it
the
doesn't amplify, it only goes directly into VCAM. That's what that does.
Okay, so
But
you
it
want me
can
to
pull
just...
off if you, whatever you want
Is
to
this
do.
okay if I'm over here?
Oh, no, I didn't print
All
out
right.
yours.
You can all hear me? All right?
Yep,
Okay.
thanks.
So thank you for having us on the agenda. The Friends of the Charlotte Library, along with the Charlotte Library Board of Trustees, raise funds through private donations to build Charlotte's first public library. Upon its completion in 1998, the Friends of the Library deeded the building to the town. In 20 years, our library has become a valuable, heavily used town asset, directed by community input in our strategic plan. The numbers tell the story, particularly from this past year. 20,000 people come through our doors. There are over 330 programs that take place, attended by 3,000 children and adults in last year. Over 15,000 books are packed in a space that can only accommodate 8,000. Over 70% of the Charlotte residents have library cards. For over 10 years, the Library Board of Trustees deliberated on solutions to space constraints in our collection and program areas. Finally, in December 2015, the trustees voted to consider an addition, followed by the formation of an expansion committee and sponsorship from the Friends of the Library Board. From that point, the Select Board supported the concept of an expansion. Our timeline outlines the many steps we have taken over the past 3 years to share details in the process. With guidance from the foremost fundraising consulting firm in Vermont, the Library Board of Trustees and the Friends of the Library Board chose to raise half of the projected $1.4 million for the project, or $700,000 in charitable gifts, pursue the vote for a bond to pay the other half, and update the Select Board on the fundraising efforts. Since last September, the Capital Campaign Committee has used standard fundraising protocols to raise nearly half our goal in the quiet fundraising phase, begin to expand our fundraising effort to the whole community, both without any use of town funds. Since October, the Bond Committee has consulted with Vermont Municipal Bond Bank, hosted a well-attended information session to recruit more members, presented its plan to the Select Board, scheduled public information meetings for this month in January, established outreach goals toward the bond vote at the town meeting in March. The expansion plans for the library include a larger children's area, increased space for adults, additional work area, quiet study space, and expanded storage space. A dedicated program room available after regular library hours. An upgrade to the 20-year-old heating system that includes smart energy improvements. No projected increase in staff or maintenance costs. So we're really excited to share our progress to date, as word of the expansion is already generating great enthusiasm and results. We look forward to working with the Select Board and community to make this a successful addition to our library and our town, and hope you will approve tonight the bond for the library expansion for the March town meeting. Thank you. We'll answer any questions that you have.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about the success of your private campaign and your plans forward?
Who has the most up-to-date?
We have raised, as you mentioned, approximately $350,000 right as of now in pledges and some actual money. So we're kind of halfway to our $700,000 as of this night. Since the last time we got a couple of very substantial grants, so it's more promising than it looked the last time.
So if the Select Board votes to add the article for a bond for $700,000, what can you tell us about your plans to make up the difference then, from which would be another $350,000?
That we will continue to fundraise. We have definitely not, we've been in the quiet phase, so now we're ready to go to the next phase. And I think there are plans to have informational meetings and to spread the nets a little wider. And we have, in theory, till town meeting, I mean, we have a month and a half or whatever it is. So there's still time.
And we're still interacting with the members from the quiet fundraising as we're moving forward with the public fundraising.
So what question do board members have?
What would be the expectation if you fall short in your fundraising? Would
that
you?
We would have to think about, there's probably some places we could
Changing your plan?
change the plan a bit.
I mean, there's a
Need
time
be.
limit to the bond. If for some reason it doesn't happen by the time
So
the bond happens, do you?
So the bond you have, according to the bond bank people, you have up to a year from the time that to actually take the bond. So that's.
Let me ask a question, Dean. We vote on the first Tuesday in March, but the budget we're going to approve is July 1st. So what's the start date for the 12 months? Is it the town meeting day, or is it July 1st?
I'm not aware that there's actually a definitive 12-month period. The bond bank indicated there's a summer pool application and a winter pool application. So the town attorney's opinion was if it's not going to be done within a year, or if you anticipate it's not going to be ready within a year, maybe delay the vote until March 2020. But if there's a chance that the money will be available, you could do a winter pool. The application is in mid-December.
So it's 8 months.
That was mid-December, like, so it's in 11 months to mid-December?
Right, yeah, from
And
March to.
do you know when the application is due for the summer pool?
He said early May with a closing date of end of July, so early May.
Okay, early May.
So it's 60 days from applying to the closing
Yeah.
for the bond.
Right,
I think it's
It's the
important
closing
to,
of
90 days, 90 days.
90
End of
days.
July, yeah.
I think it's important to convey again that we're not expecting to cap at 350,000. We expect to continue to raise money so that we will have more closer to when the actual bond.
Any other questions from the community, or support or lack of support? Or, I mean, what's the feeling from folks? Yes. You can state your name too, as everybody
Yeah,
speaks.
my name is John Quinney. I would think that if the town voted in favor of the $700,000 bond at town meeting, that would really assist the library in raising any balance that might be outstanding at that time, because, you know, it just puts them that much closer. And so if there were donors who are potentially concerned about whether this is actually going to happen or not, it just becomes that much more likely.
I agree.
Furthermore, voting at town meeting, we would like as many people to vote on this in town as possible, and it seems like town meeting, the March date is when you would get the maximum number of people actually voting, which really would tell you that people, because you have a chance to say yes or no.
I think typically, so there's no November meeting in our plan.
Right.
No primary. So there'll be a meeting this first Tuesday in March, and then there would not be another meeting until March of the year 2020. So, and we typically get, 800 to 1,000 people to do the Australian ballot, and that would be this event.
But you haven't met our bond committee who are going to get everybody in this town out there to vote.
Hey, well, that's good. In the old days, we did that with the school. We wanted Spanish, about 50 people all walk in, and we got Spanish or French.
Feel free to go to other towns too. That's fine.
Absolutely.
We're okay with that.
Those that moved away, particularly.
Sure. But that might move here, you never know.
Any other comments? I mean, 'cause the board's gonna, I mean, I don't see a reason why the board couldn't just do a consensus right now, and then in an hour, when we get to the actual budget, if we have a consensus, that can just carry over to when we do the budget, because the budget's the next item. So let me just say a couple things. So it's an article, Australian ballot. And it's, like I said, yes or no. And the first year of the fiscal year in our budget, I think its interest and charges is $21,000. So as of this time, as we review the budget that we're going to get to when we're done with this conversation, we actually have $21,000 in there. So our budget plan, unless as we go through a change, we have that money in there. So the article will say bond for $700,000 and associated fees for that year. And we did some research. We could actually put the fees in or not put them in, but we'd have the authority through the vote, if it was positive, to tax. But in discussions with people, it seems like it makes sense to put the $21,000 in the $3 million, which is what our budget is. And then when people raise their hands for approval of the budget that's in there already, so there's no surprises to anybody. So, and if for some reason it was turned down, it'll stay in there, and they would have to reassess it. It would be, we'd be taxing 21,000 more than our budget says, but, I mean, if you think positive, it'll work out. So are there other comments for the board? Do you want to take a consensus here, or what's the pleasure?
I'd be in favor of moving ahead as Article 8 is outlined.
You want to just read Article 8, just so people, it's very clear?
Shall bonds of the town of Charlotte in an amount not to exceed $700,000 and 0 cents be issued to finance the construction of an addition to the Charlotte Library, and the tax rate be set sufficient to pay interest thereon during fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020.
Okay, so that's the article that we'll be officially voting on. So you're supporting that article. What's the consensus of the rest of the board?
I agree. I think the best way to know if the town wants it is to let them vote on it.
Okay,
Doesn't get any more clear than that.
good. And Carrie? Sure.
I did have a couple questions.
Go ahead, ask your questions.
All right, I wanted to understand that for the next 20 years, we would have to pay about $60,000, is that correct, in bond payment? So that would become part of, in our line item, there would be a bond payment for the library?
Yes.
Okay.
It'd be a liability which we pay off, kind of like a mortgage.
Over the next 20 years, okay. And then,
Just in time for the next edition.
Right.
yeah,
Are we doing 20? We don't know yet, do we? It's 20 years or 15-year?
There's a choice, but we've gotten an estimate for a 20-year bond.
Okay.
and then do you ever charge for your programs like the senior center does and recreation? Is there a reason? By law, okay,
It's
yeah.
against everything.
And I figured it probably was, but I have been asked that question.
That's an important part of
It is really, yes, it is. And I guess I just had one other, the meeting room that you'll have separate, will that be an added expense because people will have to be there to close it and open it? And how do you plan on, it was just,
You mean for staffing?
you know, heat, electricity?
It seems that potentially there could be less expense because now staff sometimes has to hang around, right? Because the program is within the library, but the design enables the program room to be closed separately. So
And will they be able to charge for that room?
That's a good question, probably.
No, because it's the library, okay, that's good. I just,
But could we charge something, sort of a fee in case they trash it or something?
Well,
that's a good question, right,
The library
right.
now, there is a library application form, and when you sign it, you agree to pay for any damages that are done to the property.
I see,
You
yeah.
have to treat it well.
Okay,
And
good.
the staffing for a lot of the programs is volunteer
Sure.
from us.
And people in the community. There's a lot of people who come and say, can I do a program?
And when would you expect to get started?
Well, it depends when the bond, if the bond gets.
Well, let's just say everything
I mean,
went
in the
pretty
best of
well.
all possible worlds, we would
Best.
break ground next August, is that what? With the idea, I think in the last time we had the architect was here, and he said, you know, his cost estimates are based on
Next year.
August of 2019.
getting this thing going.
2019.
Because and if it goes out a whole nother year, all bets are off in the sense of, I mean, there's a lot. Turns out everything gets more expensive for some reason.
And so I was wondering when, a little bit, not really off topic, but the medical center, the health center, they would want to be doing construction as well. And I was wondering if the two coincide, you will have a lot going on all at once. We'll have to just one of those, small area and a lot going on. You gotta set up trucks and construction and dump trucks in and out and all good, for all good reasons, but I think we would need to schedule that and plan that accordingly because of how much there would be for 3 or 4 months, 4 months.
So it sounds like there's unanimous support from the board.
Thank you so much.
The other topic that I'm seeing here is, the library is town property, so the town owns the library. And Frank, you know best here since part of your area. So we need to authorize that a motion for a sketch plan review by the planning commission of a town building?
Right. In order to go into sketch plan, it has to be authorized by the landowner and to allow the library to go forward with sketch plan.
So you want to walk us through or make a motion?
Well,
or
I'm hoping that that things get put in a little bit, more information gets put on the application for sketch plan. I mean, it's not talking about it says lot, but it doesn't have the acreage, it doesn't have the frontage. They got it listed as a commercial activity instead of a public facility, which I think it should be listed under a public facility, not a commercial activity. The existing structures on the lot should include the town hall. And then, in that case, the parking on the lot should be considered for not only the library, but for the town hall.
So can we consult with you about how to?
You should consult with Daryl
Yeah.
about this. I talked with Daryl today about it a little bit.
He came over and talked to us, and I think, I can't remember, somebody said you need to get started on this because they have a schedule that gets behind, and so it's good to have it in process.
This is the first meeting of sketch plan, and then there's the site plan, so this isn't just gonna be a one meeting thing. This will be, there'll be a sketch plan meeting, there'll be a decision on the sketch plan, then there'll be a site plan. The planning commission knows more about the whole schedule than I do.
So we really just want to get the ball rolling so that
Right.
it doesn't hold us up if we.
Right, and I'm not sure of all the specifics that are necessary for sketch plan, because sometimes
Okay.
sketch plan is just the basic idea of what you're planning, and then when you get to site plan, it gets more in depth and
So we
more
should work
things.
with Daryl.
Working with Daryl and the planning commission at site plan, sketch plan review.
Steve, maybe is sketch plan always voluntary, or sometimes it's compulsory?
No, it's required unless waived, and usually
Unless
it's not waived, yeah.
But there is a waiver
There's a waiver provision if the
in the
town.
land use right.
Yep.
And who's expected to be at the site plan committee? Who's expected to, once we submit that, do we act, is there actually a meeting or?
Yes, for sketch plan, you'll go to the planning
Planning
commission, and after that's done, and they decide on the sketch plan, if it goes to site plan, then you'll be scheduled for a site plan with the planning commission.
Margaret?
I believe that we're already on the planning commission calendar for the 21st of February. For the sketch plan.
I'm sure you are.
But it sounds like we need to resubmit this information before that time?
Data, I think.
Well, I mean, whether you have to update it on this particular application, or whether you update it within the meeting.
Okay. But check with Daryl.
Check with Daryl
Thank you.
on information.
That's good information to have.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the sketch plan review process?
And waive $50 fee.
And waive the $50 fee?
Oh,
Which is
Where's that donation?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second?
Do we sign anything, or just,
It should be signed by the chair.
okay?
Second.
Any other comments about this
Friendly, no?
motion?
So throughout the process, there's probably a an official person? There usually is with the site plan.
I mean, a representative from the town?
Would it be like the board or?
Is that delegated to the library, or are you saying it's a select board person?
Well, I was,
I think he was volunteering.
yeah, teach me to speak up. I probably shouldn't have said a word, should I?
Since it's your building, we're going to let you do it.
I mean, through the process, there's usually a contact person. I mean,
Okay,
that
you
should
got
probably
it.
be a select board or the library board, or does it matter to anybody?
You?
If you volunteer, I'm sure nobody'd object.
Okay, well, I guess I'll volunteer then.
Okay. Any other comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, guys. You're
Thank you
off
so
and
much.
running.
Thank you very much. Very exciting.
So, Dean, do you kind of want to highlight the open items in the budget that, oh, plus the Energy Committee wants, or is it Conservation?
Dean, can you make sure that Peter tells me, I mean, I'll probably find out the stuff, but
Okay.
just that
Darryl will tell you.
stick me in the loop so I know when I'm expected.
Yes, he's the staff. He's the staff for the planning commission.
As we get into the budget, there was a rebuttal from Energy Committee. Is anybody here from the Energy Committee? Why don't we find that line item and then go through so we can find what we did, and then state your case that you did on your,
It's in the miscellaneous, probably the last page, or next to the last page. Next to the bottom line of the miscellaneous category.
okay. Where are we? This, Energy.
Right there. Got it?
Okay.
Where are you finding it?
Energy Committee, it's
Looks like this.
second to last page. So, we took an eraser to your budget, so why don't you, but it's not over tonight, we're going to finalize things, so why don't you state what it is that you requested, and we can state what we did and see if we can find neutral ground.
So, Dean distributed.
You're John Quinney, by the way, or your name?
My name is John Quinney. I'm the treasurer of the Energy Committee.
Yep.
Dean distributed the material that I prepared to make the case for restoring the Energy Committee budget to the amount that we originally requested. I won't take up your time by going through all of that, but just a couple of key points I would like to make. In the past, the Energy Committee hasn't always spent the amount that we were allocated in the budget. In some cases, there were good reasons for that, and I listed those at the end of the document that I provided. But I think we also, until October last year, have not had a treasurer. We've not had anyone who's been responsible for the budget and keeping us on track with the associated activities. So I was appointed to that role in October, and a big part of my job is making sure that we spend the money that we have in our budget. The one point I would make is that, you know, allocating funds in a budget represent opportunities for us to do work in support of our mission and to benefit the town. If our budget is taken away, that opportunity is gone. Just because the money is in our budget doesn't mean that the work is going to get done, but we at least have the opportunity to do it. So all I'm asking is that you give us the opportunity to do the work that we were planning to do in FY20. For this year, we still have a substantial amount of money in our budget, and as I outlined in the document that Dean distributed, I expect that we will be spending most, if not all of that, between now and the end of June.
So tell us a little bit about your plans in the current year we're in now, because our actuals show that year-to-date, you've just spent $351.
That's right.
And you've got a budget of $4,000, so there's 6 months left in the fiscal year. Tell us a little bit about your plans then?
Yep. We would like to do some energy efficiency work in connection with the library addition, and I've spoken with Margaret about that, and she's expressed support for the Energy Committee being involved in that. We have done some initial work, and there's some more to do as the plans get finalized. We'd also like to work with the fire station, if the board agrees, to do an energy audit for the fire station to determine if there are opportunities for them to save on operating costs and energy bills. And I have had an issue conversation with Dick St. George, but that's very preliminary in terms of whether we go ahead or not. There's probably money in the budget to only do one of those two items. The second item that we expect to use a significant amount of money is a weatherized campaign to launch in the spring. That's modeled after a successful effort in the Upper Valley of Vermont, which attempted to get at the barriers that stop people from going ahead with weatherization work on their homes. And that's been very successful, so we're looking to replicate that success. Those are the two key things that we expect to use most of this year's funds.
Okay, and then next year?
Well, next year, actually, there's one other thing in this year's budget. There was $1,000 in there for to match a grant request to the New England Grassroots Fund. So if our grant request is successful, then there would be $1,000 from our budget. We don't know whether the request will be successful or not, obviously, but and then for FY20, what's in there is, more work with town buildings, either the library or the fire station or the school, depending on what happens between now and June. A big unknown for next year is what our responsibilities will be under Act 174, assuming that the town plan is approved. The Energy Committee has put in a tremendous amount of time working with the Planning Commission to try to ensure that the town has substantial deference in terms of siting of renewable energy projects. So if the town plan is approved and the...
This is an amendment to the town plan, which
Yes.
deals with the Act 174.
Yeah.
Because we had it approved last year, less the energy section.
Yes, thank you, sir. So we don't know what our responsibilities will be specific to that act, but again, in line with what I said earlier, if we have some money in our budget, then we can at least respond to those needs. There's a bit of money in there next year to go to conferences, which we do to try and learn about opportunities to further, work in the town on energy-related issues. And then there's money for community energy and outreach, which may well be, another weatherized campaign.
So comments, board, who is?
Well, the recommendation to take money out of the budget didn't originate in the select board. I think the argument was made last Monday that money not used chronically should get adjusted to reflect the real use. I have a difference of opinion. I think there are really three basic ways that committees can approach a budget. I resonate more with your idea of it being an opportunity. If that opportunity isn't seized, that money gets returned to the taxpayers at no harm. Or a committee could, 2 weeks before the end of the fiscal year, figure out how to spend the money that they were budgeted, which I'm not really a fan of that model. Or some committees can budget and then go over budget, which also is not something the Energy Committee has ever done. So I think the $4,500 was a good number. It represents a lot of work. This committee, I think, is comprised of an incredible group of people who have a lot of skill set and knowledge in this field. And having that $4,500 allows them to do a lot more for the town than that. Also, what came up at Monday's meeting, which is a new development, is, I'm not sure if you've been contacted, but either Christina or Dean will be speaking with the Energy Committee soon, looking to add another task to their list of addressing the lighting situation in Town Hall and looking at what the best way to move forward would be as far as a planning perspective and getting to LED lighting. So I'd like to see the $4,500 put back in, which was the request, and I think represents a pretty significant amount of work. So it is a great opportunity.
Thank you.
I think we have asked all of the committees numerous times for what we call the zero-based budget, which means before you ask for a sum of money, you have, like an energy review, you have a scope of work and some sort of guidelines to where to start. So we have had the library and the fire station energy review as the basis of this budget for 3 years. We have yet to see where Bob's energy review company showed up and said it will cost us $2,100 to do the following scope of work. I think the reason we ask for that is so budgets are directed at a specific goal, not so we put money out there that's looked to be spent.
Right.
And that's probably my, I guess you would say, common or complaint, is that as of yet, we haven't received that from the Energy Committee, and it would be nice to know that.
I think we can certainly do a better job of communicating the work that the budgets represent, and also if there is uncertainty about our ability to complete those projects, to convey that as well. I don't think we've done as good a job in that regard as we can. And that's something I expect that would improve, so long as I'm the treasurer of the committee. I think that's important.
I don't think there's an issue as to whether you can complete it. I'm sure that's not a problem. It's just, which comes first? Do you, the chicken or the egg? Do I find someone who's going to do this project for $2,000, or do I find out how much the project is and then ask for the money?
Mm-hmm.
And I think what the approach that we have asked for is the latter. So, for future reference.
What's your view on what the budget amount is, Fritz? I mean,
I don't, without, there's my question. Without a scope of work, it's hard to evaluate whether the budget's appropriate.
I think to your point, Fritz, my guess is the Energy Committee was going off of the information they had from the energy audit that took place at the senior center before the addition 2 years ago. And they, the full, was it blower door test? They had an energy audit there, and I think they're probably carrying that number for the fire station and the library to do a full building
But
test.
the library is new construction. I mean, so these.
Well, addition.
Yeah,
and that was an addition.
it may have been lost. It may, have been changed in.
Yeah, just
But-
the fire station, the energy audit, we got an estimate from Building Energy, which was the company that did the energy audit for the senior center, and their estimate was that number that I quoted here, $1,500 to $2,500. As far as the library addition is concerned, Margaret invited our participation as the design process moves forward, and we don't have specifics about what the Energy Committee's role will be or what sort of expertise we would need to engage to assist the architect. But one of the people on the Energy Committee who's now active again after recovering from a medical illness is David Pill, who's a well-recognized architect, and he was the person who really helped out earlier on with the addition project. So he's back engaged again.
And would you have a problem coming back and asking, once you did have a price like what Fritz is saying, you come back and say, look, here's a project we want to do, this is how much it costs? can we
Well-
have the money?
Well, we could, if the select board has the ability to allocate additional funds outside the normal budget process, but I'd assumed that,
We
we
don't.
had one shot at it, and that was
This is
it
it
for
for
the
a
year.
12-month period.
Right,
So
right,
that's why you're back
yeah.
asking us again. So this takes us through end of June of the year
That's right,
2020.
I know the senior center has also expressed interest in not necessarily the HVAC side of energy, but the lighting side, which is a big ongoing expense.
Yeah.
And I think, like Matt said, we have asked a number of times that we could use some help to go through existing buildings, do the evaluation as to whether we should change them out when they fail, what the plan would be.
One of the workshops that we did attend was, one of the topics was retro-commissioning. So when new buildings are erected, there's someone there who makes sure that the buildings perform as they were designed. That's commissioning. Well, retro-commissioning is doing that same process after the building has been in operation for a while to make sure that the equipment is still operating the way that it was intended. So, we learned about that at this workshop, and that's a service that's available through Efficiency Vermont for town buildings. The first phase of that is free. And so that's something that, may be applicable to the senior center or to town hall.
So am I doing the math? So did you ask for 3,000, right?
We asked for
4,000.
4,500.
4,500. And
2,000 was taken out last Monday.
looks like we have 3,000. The change is 3,000 from the request.
Right, 1,000 was left.
1,000 was left in.
So,
This says the request,
It's a change from previous fiscal year.
oh, okay.
yeah, it's up 500. It was 4,000 last, right?
4,000 or 4,500? Which is it, 4,000 or 4,500?
4,500.
4,500. And that's what you're suggesting, Matt?
Yeah.
Is there a consensus on the board to restore that?
Well, it's still $2,000 less than we had, so. Because it was 6,500, am I reading this right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't remember it.
The year 1819, it says 4,000.
Okay.
And the year before that was about the same, 4,000.
I'm looking at the wrong line, never mind.
So you've upped it from 4,000 to 4,500.
That's correct.
So I'm asking, is there consensus to restore to 4,500? Matt suggesting we do. Other folks' opinions?
I do have to agree with Matt that if you don't use it, it goes back to the
Taxpayer.
taxpayer. The annual compounded interest rate on $4,500 is probably, I don't know, $20. Change.
So I think we have a consensus to restore it to 4,500.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to come in.
Thanks,
and
yeah.
explain your
Thank
scope
you.
of work.
Okay. So I see all the fire and rescues here in full force. Should we,
Do we have a little time before?
are they on? I thought they're here for part of just the budget, I would think.
Oh, okay, got it.
You're here just to make sure the budget goes as you desired.
Just in case there's any questions.
Yeah, in case any last minute adjustments. Okay. So, there are a couple of issues, and one of them is Article 7 in the Australian ballot is the ambulance. So there's an article for the ambulance of $275,000, Article 7, which we, on consensus, supported last meeting. So I assume no change there, Article 7. And then on your spreadsheet, we agreed to, Matt, wasn't it $100,000?
Yeah, up from 80,000 to the
80,000 to 100,000. So we're supporting the ambulance
capital reserve fund.
and the capital reserve fund fire and rescue at the $100,000 level we all agreed to last time. And you folks agreed to take something out. What was that?
We moved the thermal imagers back a year.
Okay?
And we took $35,000 out for the power lift stretcher, and the department was,
Well, we're going to purchase that as part of the 275 for the ambulance.
For the ambulance. Is anybody, I mean, as far as I know, we're all good on fire and rescue's budget, the article, and the capital reserve fund. Those are the issues, right? And the budget, which we approved as well. Anybody have any comments?
Just to be clear on the stretcher thing, that's the retrofit of the old one and the new one are part of the bond.
No, the retrofit of the old one, of the current A1 is being purchased out of special funds. So
Okay.
CVFRS is paying for that. And the one for the new ambulance is actually, based upon our negotiations, is going to be rolled into in part of the 275.
Okay. So the biggies are the library and fire and rescue. Do you want to, and we've done the conservation or energy.
I had a,
Is there another, go ahead.
are we open?
Yeah.
I had
What
a
else is there?
question about the select board legal expense on the first page of expenses
Yep.
after revenues. It's going up 22% or $10,000.
Two bonds, 5,000 each. We put it there, is that right? So we have the library bond and the ambulance bond, and notionally, legal expenses are about 5,000 each.
Okay.
So that's the 10,000 that's in there.
What about the planning legal?
Oh, yeah, that was really high.
The planning and zoning legal spent for 9,400 already. On $9,000, on $8,000 budget.
Oh, why is it high? I mean, current actuals to date?
Yeah. I mean, I know, I got an idea of why it's high, I mean, but
I think it's
you wonder, do we put enough in there?
Well, at least the approach with rec has been to try and guess without over-guessing and under-guessing. So it looks like 2 years ago, the approved budget was 6,000 and 10,000 was spent. So then last year, we budgeted 8,000 and 9,400's been spent. So now we're upping it to,
already.
yeah, so we're getting closer.
Do you think we should be increasing that, Frank?
But we've got this question coming,
Again, it all depends on what comes in.
well, we've got this question pending about the egg classification
The what?
for the, what is it, Act
143.
143. At some point in time, we're going to have to iron out who makes that classification and the guidelines for doing it.
So that'll take some legal work.
I suspect that'll take some legal work. That's probably above, last year's seems to be the yearly average, so I'm thinking maybe it's a little on the skinny side.
So maybe the 9,000 should be 10,000?
I would, yeah, but that's, same thing goes with the
Well, I think with
the energy. If you don't spend it, you don't
I
have
think
to.
with Act 143, the select board's committed to take lead on that discussion. I think that would be coming out of our legal budget, not the planning commission's. The planning commission's legal budget is really about
Specific.
Okay.
questions upholding land use regs and decisions that,
I'm assuming that most of it has to do with the staff having to get answers to questions that the boards have placed upon them. So I think most of the legal for the planning and zoning are questions usually from the boards.
right, about land use regs.
About the land
and
use
the opinions
regs and
of the
how they
boards.
apply.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this also
That's a good
just,
point.
historically looking at it, it's a committee or commission that hasn't seen the budget as a barrier to access to, that line item. And,
We do what needs to be
we don't
done.
want to tie the planning commission's hands, so I think getting closer to that realistic number is what we're doing, but I wouldn't
Right.
want to overshoot it and
So I'd go to
give
10.
license to
Go
excessive
10
legal.
probably.
I mean, if you look, to Frank's point, if you look at 17, 18, it was 10,000. And now you're looking at 18, 19, or 94 spent already. I'm inclined to agree with Frank. I think we ought to make, instead of 9,000, it ought to be 10,000 for next year. Is there a consensus on that? That's legal for planning and zoning.
Where to go?
That sounds like you got that, team? Okay. What other topics are we looking at?
Well, in the same category, engineering for septic review, we're only at 6,900 out of a $12,000 budget. Maybe we knock that down $1,000 to 11. Kind of reflect the underage and have a net change of 0.
Right, all that depends on how many subdivisions and everything that need to be checked out. And it also depends on whether we wanted to give up delineation and have the state take it over.
Well, that would drop it from 12 to 0. But that would also get rid of, I don't know, $7,000 in revenue.
When does that expense incur?
From the-
Because let's say the KR development was approved. So let's say houses start getting built. Is that expended in the planning phase or the preparation for construction phase?
Planning.
So that means,
Is when, you're right, is when, that's my understanding,
Well,
is
that-
the engineering
That
and septic
and there
review
must be
is-
some, yeah, but the town has review of the septic as it's being done.
Right, I think the septic system was reviewed during the subdivision stage, but as the build-out
Installation.
happens, each lot will need a septic permit, and that's when the revenue will come back to the town.
so that expense has been incurred then for that particular example.
Most of it, yeah, there'll be a little bit of final engineering as far as the exact location, but it's mostly done.
The other thing to look at, Matt, is the history here. 20,000 one year, 13,000, 12,000.
That's what I mean, we're trending down.
Trying to get it what?
We're
down?
trending down, unlike
Yeah.
legal.
Okay.
So I would adjust down.
Right, but are you trending down because you're at 69 now and you still got 6 months to go?
We're kind of
So
on.
you double that, you're up at the 13 something
Well,
again
5 months ago.
for 5 months. So you're still almost you're up to
I guess it could be,
$12,000 anyways, even then.
So we're at a
Moving
12,000
it.
pace for the
I-
current year.
I mean, again, it's driven by what comes in. So, I mean, I can say, yeah, if the pattern stays the same, yes, we'll reach our budget.
Well,
but if it.
But if
continuing
it,
to
but
decrease,
if it could decrease, it could increase, it's an unknown.
so.
Consensus to leave it? Or,
yeah, the revenue's been pretty, which is the other measure of the application, has been pretty consistent.
okay.
57, 55.
The health insurance went up.
Oh, why don't you tell us about the cost of living being? So for salaries.
So the Department of Labor did issue on the 11th an update to the CPI, Consumer Price Index, which was, ended up being the difference between the average of 2017 and the average of 2018 was 2.23%, so about 2.2%. So that has been incorporated. I believe before last Monday's meeting, that was incorporated.
That was a guess then.
That was a guess.
But now we have the data.
Right,
So 2.2 cost of living adjustment, all pay,
right.
plus the step for the employees have been included.
Yep.
So no change needed tonight
Right,
in payroll.
right.
Can we add another line for this debt service thing say that it's for the library? Instead of just saying debt service? I mean, it's pretty vague,
Yeah, I guess, let me just get it there.
you know, can we put a
There's-
drop down on it or something?
Yeah, I mean, we could add a line there.
I mean, it's pretty, debt service, nobody's gonna know what it is.
Oops, go the other way.
Where do we see that, Frank?
It's on the second to last page. They put it above transfer of funds.
There you go. Oh, so can we be allowed to put library in parentheses or something?
That would be another way to do it, yep.
Huh?
Yes.
Just put like a library, I mean, I'd like to put library interest, loan interest or bond interest on it.
So that's the 21,000 for the debt service, assuming the library bond
I
passes.
mean, if we have more than one, I mean, what would it, we'd put them all there.
Right, if there were more than one. I mean, the fire and rescue comes out of the reserve fund, so it doesn't need to be there, but
Right.
for other,
It's fine. I'm
Right.
just want to identify.
yep.
That's good. Goes. The custodial services for the senior center went up by 1,400. Was there a reason for that? Just up a couple. I mean, it looks like it's heading in that direction anyways with the amount that's spent, but.
I don't remember what they said, but I'd venture to say that if your revenue's going up from senior center programs and senior center building rental, that the cleaning is gonna go up with it. Gotta clean after parties, I mean, if you're gonna charge, you gotta cleaning, so that's not surprising to me.
So, use. Okay. I guess that's it.
Okay, so we're good with that. You want to look at the summary and what this boils down to for taxpayers?
So the expense total is 3,264,779.
Oh, so that's the new number based on the changes we just made now.
The tax rate ends up being 20.27 cents.
What was the total again?
3 million,
Went up by
Yeah, hold
4,000.
that page right, hold it right there.
Went up by 4,000.
3, 2, 6, 4, we're gonna vote on this. 779, right?
right.
And so that makes, the rate went up 2027. 2027 is .0119. What's that percentage, Matt? You were fast on that last week.
The difference?
Well, .0119 divided by the lower number, .1909, I think.
6%, 6.2%.
So that's what that's what it's gonna go up then. But 6%. So it's a 6% increase from everything we've done here. Anybody have any questions with that? Yes, Robert?
Does that include the bond for the ambulance and bond for the?
Yes. Well, what we're doing on the ambulance, there's a capital reserve, so there's no outflow of money for the ambulance per se. It's being collected, so we have $100,000 we're adding to the capital reserve. And for the library, we agreed on a $700,000 bond, and the line we went to about 2 or 3 minutes ago is called interest.
That includes the 21,000?
That's 21,000 is to pay debt service for the library. So everything is included in here. Anybody else have questions on the budget, what we've done?
I guess I would just say, because the articles are the articles.
Yep.
And the town may or may not approve them.
Yep.
The select board's budget represents an increase of 3.8%.
And the point being that we're cheap?
Well, that it's not 6%. That's not.
Oh, the select
The
board's
select
budget.
board's budget, the expense total, the difference of the expense total over last year's approved expense total is a 3.8% increase.
And so what isn't,
If the town decides to, on top of the select board's budget, approve
The
the
articles,
articles.
okay.
That changes.
Gotcha.
Possibly changes the tax rate, although again, we have the mechanism in August of deciding how much of a percent to retain from last year's budget for cash flow, which can also offset any possible increase, that 2.2% increase that's possible. And there's that government-accepted practice, the GAP standards is somewhere between, I think, 5 and 10% that could be retained. So there's some flexibility there as far as the effect on the tax rate.
so to your point, the money to be raised by taxes is our best estimate at this time. The fiscal year closes, and in August, we in fact set the tax rate.
That's when the tax rate sets.
And we have a reserve.
Every year, it's just how much
as
of that reserve.
recommended by the CPA.
Right.
Anybody have any comments on the budget? We forget anything, Dean, that we should be having looked at tonight?
Not that I know of.
Is there a motion to approve that number, the two numbers, I guess? Should we approve the numbers that actually go into Article 3 then? Is that
Sure,
what?
yep.
So if you go to Article 3, Select Board's budget, based on what you just told us, so in Article 3, what number goes into the Select Board budget is?
The expense total and the revenue total, the non-tax revenue. Which is one.
But this says budget, wasn't it,
Let me just get that.
expenses minus revenues?
So the budget is the expense budget.
Only.
Yeah.
So that number you've said is 3264779? Okay, what's the other number we're gonna vote on?
The non-tax revenue, I mean, it does call for the number that will be raised by taxes, but the third blank line will be non-tax revenue of 1,382,994, and the difference is the taxes.
Which is 1881785.
So I've just lost the bubble a little bit. So what's the second number?
1,881,785.
1,881,785.
Which is an anticipation of sum of, will be raised by taxes, anticipated sum of, will be raised by non-tax revenues, okay. So the three numbers are 3264779. What's the next one is what, 1 million what?
881,785.
Okay. And the third is,
$1,382,994.
okay. Somebody want to make a motion for that?
So we're just moving to fill in the blanks there?
On the article, yeah.
So, yeah, the motion is to approve, I guess that approves the budget and Article 3 at the same time, doesn't it?
Okay.
Second?
Why don't you just state one more time
With
the
the-
numbers?
With the select board budget of $3,264,779. With $1,881,785 to be raised by taxes. And $1,382,994 to be raised by non-tax revenues.
Okay. Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay. So we have that correct. So we've got the numbers for Article 3, which at the same time is approving the budget. Is that the best way to do that?
Yeah, you will eventually approve the actual warrant, the warrant itself, but.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the budget? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that's the budget. So then the warning for town meeting. So the only thing we had to fill, so we have 3 articles. We have 5 articles that come before the town at the 9 o'clock session. Hear reports. Article 1, Article 2, town vote to have property taxes payable on before November 15th. Article 3 is the budget that we just approved. Article 4, will the town vote to authorize select board to borrow money by issuance of bonds in excess of anticipated revenues. And 5 is transact any other business. Anybody have any comments to, now these articles, 1 through 5, which any money article, which is only Article 3, gets confirmed on Australian ballot in accordance with our charter. What's that date, like April 14th or something?
April 9th.
April 9th. So Article 3 only gets seen twice at the town meeting, and whatever adjustments are made in accordance with our charter, that then will be affirmed on April 9th. The Australian ballot articles to elect officers, Article 7 is the authorization for the ambulance. Article 8 is the library bond. Those are voted on at town meeting in March, and the results are the results. They don't get seen again. So, anybody have any changes anybody want to make or comments or? Yes, Dean.
Just while you're talking about the warning and the different articles, you mentioned, I think, at the last meeting that you might want to have a presentation by Fire and Rescue and
Oh, right.
where that would be.
Would that be fire and rescue and the library? We're going to have both or just?
It could be. It's allowed to talk on the floor now.
So at fire, like you've done in the past years, would you like to make a presentation?
Of course.
You do a wonderful job. Your PowerPoint skills are really quite good.
We may have to bring Jon Snow in off the bench to help us. but-
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I think I just got fired.
So what we do is then, we'll have that presentation just before we vote on it. So we pull down the curtain, we go, or the screen, we go sit in the audience, and then you make your 10-minute presentation or so. And we'll ask the library, by the way, with the new regulations, you're allowed to actually talk about articles that are under Australian ballot, so if the library, we'll have to ask them if they'd like to say anything that they can, if they want to give, they can do it most any time during the meeting. As far as the select board, we've had a little presentation the last few years, but I'm not sure we have anything new this year other than the bond and the ambulance. So I thought maybe we could prepare, maybe a couple of us stand up and say a few words, but I didn't think we needed a presentation this year. I don't know how people feel. It's pretty standard. I mean, we have salaries are going up.
Insurance is going up.
Insurance going up, healthcare is going up. I mean, the increase is not really, and then as you said, Matt, it's the articles that are in here, they're really, our budget really hasn't gone up, other than normal
Cost of living, pretty much.
normal costs. So that's what I was thinking. So is there a motion to accept the warning?
Make a motion to accept the warning as amended.
Were there amendments?
Or no,
Or that's just the...
Well,
okay.
filling in the
Okay.
blanks
Okay.
on
Blanks
the-
filled in.
filling in the blank.
Okay.
on Article 3.
I'll second that.
Any other comments from anybody? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So, this is a draft of the town report.
An early draft, yes.
So, what's our procedure here? This is mostly ours has been reviewed, the select board's been reviewed. We just did the budget. Do we approve this, or do we just have the opportunity to read it at our leisure over the next 10 days?
It's due at the printer on January 28th. So if there are any, obvious typo, or not obvious typos, any typos that you notice, you can let me know. This doesn't have page number, the pages aren't done yet, so the school district doesn't have their information in yet. And it doesn't have, it will have the town audit. It doesn't have that yet. It'll have fire and rescue audit. It doesn't have that yet. So if you want to see, I think the school said they'll be providing their reports by the 24th. So that's when it should be complete.
Do we need a vote on this?
I don't think you do technically because you voted on the budget and the warning.
But it's available for people to come in your office in the other room and
Yep.
go through it if they'd like.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you know if the school's presenting their payroll information?
They're having a public meeting on Monday, the 4th at 5 o'clock. Is that what you mean? Oh, the payroll in their
No.
packet? Their employee payroll?
That we ask for, and they seem to conveniently fumble through and miss the printing deadline.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Could you remind
Yeah.
them that we're expecting that?
Yeah.
Since they were late last year, we're assuming they're on time and going to have it ready for our printing this year. After they are responsible for educating our children. They should be able to be on schedule.
So on to the next item, 835 item. Teachers tree service.
So the League of Cities and Towns notified us that there's some tree branches overhanging the museum, and when I was looking at it, I noticed the gutters appear to be full, so I contacted a couple different tree services. Teachers was the one that responded. They went out to check it out, and they said they would take down the branches and clean out the gutters for $350. It would probably need to be better weather when they go out there to do it. Right now, the gutters are probably frozen, so it might not be till spring.
So you'd like us to vote on this? It's under 1,000. You
Yeah.
got a price? Do you want to make a motion to approve this expenditure?
Motion to approve teachers tree service to cut branches and clean gutters for the town museum for $350 when weather permits.
Second?
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is to hire a minute taker. We met with Rita. I'm not gonna be able to say her last name.
I was gonna say, somebody's gonna have to take a whack at that last name here.
Pozirikidess.
She said it was phonetic.
I was gonna say, isn't that hyphenated?
I didn't see any hyphenation.
No, it's all.
It's all one word. So, is there a motion to hire Rita for the job of minute taker for the Select Board, Planning Commission, and Zoning Board?
I'll make that motion to hire Rita. Is that good enough?
Yeah, planning.
It is really a hard name.
You're not gonna try that.
You have to get to say the name?
No. Do I have to? Can I just spell it?
Sure.
There you go.
Pozirikidess.
Okay. Has that been seconded?
Pay rate.
Second.
Oh, at a pay rate of, we said $21 an hour? At a pay rate of $21 an hour. And she'd be a contract employee, hourly, and you'll confirm the start date around the 1st of February?
Yep.
Okay. That has been seconded by someone?
Fritz.
Me.
Did you want to put the pay rate in the motion? Did you do that?
I thought I heard it in there.
I did say it, yeah.
Okay, good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Can we all look at the draft town report real quick?
Oh, we all have our own personal copy? I didn't know we did. Yes.
The official town warning is on the back side of the 4th page.
Okay.
And then 2 pages later is a warning for public informational hearing for the Australian ballot articles.
Yep.
That Article 8 does not match the town warning Article 8. I'd just like to correct that now while we're all here. That the correct one is the first. I think the contemplation was whether to roll in the interest in the article, and we decided not to. So we would take out the language of Article 8 from the warning for the informational hearings, which includes the interest in that article.
Actually, the one I have on the town website, and I'm not sure what's in your packet, but does include the interest language, which it doesn't, I guess as long as the interest is in the budget, it doesn't need to be there.
It's sort of like belt and suspenders. You're saying,
This one does.
Well, the informational meeting does, but I see what you're saying in the town report. I think I added an earlier version into the warning for town meeting.
Well, no, the town meeting doesn't.
Does not.
But if we go 2 pages later.
Information does.
Yeah, so we should take that out of the informational so it matches.
Or add it to the,
And I think we decided to take it out because it's in the budget.
okay.
It's not being
Was there-
voted on as an article.
Okay, I
It's
didn't.
part of the select board's budget.
well, the attorney said, I'm not where you are in this book, but the attorney said on the library that if you added $700 to be issued, finance the construction additional library, and the tax rate be sufficient to pay interest thereupon. So is that what you're, we've
Well,
done that.
Yeah, but look at, on this article that we,
And that's in here.
right, which we just approved.
On this document we did. So you're in the book. Oh, okay. So
So that should be amended then.
I think,
One of them should be amended.
Yeah, right, to match.
I think the one we passed tonight on the 2 sheets is what the attorney thought was kind of like belt and suspenders. You approve the bond and you're authorized to collect taxes to support it. And we actually have it in the budget as well, so, I mean,
I mean, what would normally be in the town report is the one you actually sign, which I think the one, I mean, I didn't hear any language tonight about removing the interest language, so I was assuming that would be included, but I might have been wrong.
Well, it just sounds like there's a double dipping in the accounting. If
So
we're
you
putting
look
in,
at it
if
as
we're,
double dipping,
if we're
then-
putting in the language into the article, then
Yeah.
we should remove the 21,000 from our budget. Because it's gonna get approved
Okay.
by the voters or not approved.
It's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, if you want it out, we can do that.
We shouldn't
Because
have
we're covered.
both.
Okay.
I'm happy to do it either way, but I don't think,
Well, we left the 21 in. I think that's the right thing to do. In the,
then take the language
Okay.
to levy it out of the article.
Because there's an assumption made that if you're gonna have a bond, you gotta pay the interest
Yeah, I mean, that's what,
when it comes
that's
due.
what the school
that's
budgets are like.
Just the way the
You know, they
world
bond
works.
all the time, and there's not that extra verbiage for the interest to support the bond. It's just part of the process.
so you take everything out after Charlotte Library, and then you take out, and the tax rate to be sufficient to pay interest thereupon.
Yeah, so this one actually reads without it. It's on
Oh.
page 4 of the draft town report.
Okay.
Shall bonds of the town of Charlotte in an amount not to exceed $700,000 and 00 out of 100 be issued to finance the construction of an addition to the Charlotte Library.
Okay.
And then we've
What
hedged.
about the fiscal year July 1 through, do you want that in there?
That doesn't need to be in.
Doesn't need to be in there, okay.
And we've hedged as a board that the town is gonna support that, so we put the $21,000 in our budget.
Yep.
But we're not asking for it twice.
Okay. Good catch.
And then just at the header for the informational meeting, an L in articles at the top,
Say that again?
I think. Warning for public informational hearings for Australian ballot articles.
Yep.
It's the artist.
Missing an L in articles.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And then the rest, we can,
Take our time, look at it.
next 2 weeks.
Okay, so we have the minutes of January 7th in our packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 7th as may be amended?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Okay.
I just gotta find him now.
Do you have any comments?
Just a grammatical on 110.
110?
Yeah, just the date. Needs another slash in it.
Oh, yeah, there's a line missing. Kathy, line 110 is just a typo, the date. All in favor of the motion? indicate by saying aye.
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 Are there any updates for the select board?
Dean, I was hoping that we could get the affordable housing subject put into our hands for us to look at the ad hoc committee's recommendations, or just get,
The grant program, or?
yeah, just so we can understand it as well as they did, so I had asked for that, that's why we didn't take.
So I did put the capital planning, capital budget planning on the agenda for, I think it's February 25th, as well as planning for town meeting. But I guess we could talk about what you want for the affordable housing.
Well, I felt like we should get to understand it and know it as well as the other group knew, so that we can know to make any adjustments, or there's more to learn than just taking that recommendation.
So you just
We
want
don't-
time on the agenda for that?
Kind of like that hour before, like a 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Right, don't you think, we just need to discuss it. We haven't.
Well, they're pretty clear on that. What they did is on
But there's
the,
other ways of doing it. There's other
oh, I didn't know. I
things.
thought you want to go through what they had done.
Well,
They gave us a
in part.
recommendation to change the current policy we have, to raise the limits
I
of
know
money
that, yeah,
and to make it more available
correct.
in the application, to simplify it. That's what they offered to us.
Right. And there's other ways of looking at it. That's one way of looking at it. I would like to see us look at it from a couple angles, so we know what is the best, in our opinion. We have their good opinion, and we'll use their, use it. But then we have our own homework to do on the subject.
So maybe on the 25th of February?
Do you want to do that? Do you
Sure,
wanna-
I mean, we listened to their presentation and it just kind of
We said we would
languished
talk about it.
at some point in time.
Right, at some point, it doesn't,
Whether to
if you don't
follow
want to
their-
talk about it in February, that's fine, but it has to go, we have to look at that
Why don't you wait until after the
town meeting.
next board, because they're going to have to act upon a change, and why spend an hour in February? The board makeup, to some degree, will change, see if the library thing passes and other things pass, and then you can take that up as a springtime, my suggestion would be. And then
I'm
have
fine
it-
with, I really don't care, it doesn't have to be in February. But sometime in the spring, for sure, early spring.
Yeah, it'd be nice to continue it anyways.
Yeah, it's only fair to them, they put a lot of time into it, and we need to put a little time in, so that they got to have lots of meetings, and we haven't had any yet on the subject per se, so.
Well, we've had discussions on it, so we haven't made a decision yet.
Right.
Any other matters to be brought up before the board?
Well, there's the issue of adjourning.
Oh, that one. Is there a motion?
Discussion.
Seconded? All in favor? Adjourned.
Yeah.
Guys?